So I guess I can start. Thank you for joining. So my name is Mathilde and 10? Ich denke 10. Entschuldigung, ja, sicher. Okay, so thank you very much for joining. I talk about translation management and the specific module that we developed for that. I'm Mathilde. I've been working on Drupal for the past 3 or 4 years now at MD Systems, that's in Zurich. So because we are in Switzerland, of course, Switzerland is very into translation management because a lot of websites have to be multilingual because Switzerland. So we have worked a lot on multilingual websites. So the thing is, can I do that? No. Okay. So Core does support translation in theory, but you can basically do nothing there. You can do translations, like you can change the content depending on the language that you want, but this is not enough to have a working multilingual website, definitely not enough. For example, there are a number of things that you may be interested in if you have a multilingual website that Core cannot support you with. And I will go through these 5 examples and show how TMGMT supports you with all of these things. First is if you want to keep track of the status of which node is in which language and so on, Core cannot show you that at all, or it's kind of complex. So we have defined a nice little view where you have all of the nodes and which one is the source language and then which ones are like the translations. For example, this node has been translated in French and this one is in the process of being translated in German, but not quite yet. And so you have a quick overview of what's up on your website. Then, if I want to hire an expert translator, in Core, like you basically would have to copy-paste everything on some kind of Word document, like very painful. And TMGMT allows you to really connect to a lot of different providers, and we integrate with their UI, so they don't even need to go to the Drupal website at all. And everything works quite well with all of the ones that we currently support. That's around 30 currently, but it's really kind of easy to multiply that. Like if you have a provider that you want to have and it's not in this list, I will go a bit later on how you can support that, but it's really quite easy. And then you can just like add whatever translator and select it for one or the other jobs that you want to translate. And you can even have several providers on the same website and you can decide, okay, the blog post go to this guy and the stuff about medicine go to this guy because it's their specialty or whatever. Next is there is more than just the content, like the body or the paragraphs or even the block text stuff. And for example, you have media that are integrated into your nodes, or I don't know if anyone was at the talk this morning about translation and layout builder, but we kind of talked a bit about images. And also, for example, if you refer to another node on this node that I want to translate, like TMGMT in this, so that means suggestion in German, sorry. They say, oh, you refer to this node on the page that you are going to translate, and it's not translated yet. Do you want to translate it now? And you have a whole list of suggestions so that you don't forget anything that's like in the context of the thing that you're trying to translate right now would make sense to be translated. So it really supports you to have a coherent translated website. Also giving feedback to the translator or communication aside from just the content of the note or of the whatever I'm going to translate today is also something that we support with TMGMT. You can like write some stuff for the translator so that they have maybe more context about what they are translating. And you can also communicate after, like you get the translation and you think that they misunderstood maybe this and that or something. You can really communicate aside from just the content that the people are translated. Another thing that we support on TMGMT is what we call continuous jobs, which means, okay, I have a blog, I want to have it in German and English, and I don't want to have to think every single time I'm saving an article, oh, I need to send the translation out. This listens to all of the blog posts, for example, and automatically sends out the translation to the provider so that you never forget about any. And then, so that's like the main points of TMGMT, I guess. There is a lot more stuff, obviously, but if you have questions, then we can discuss that. I want to talk a bit about how it works and like the logic of how it's been implemented. So the main thing is that you have the sources, which is basically your website in the original language. And then we will have the provider over there. So the first thing that the TMGMT module does is that it's going to translate. So first, you select which articles or notes or pages or media or all of the things that you want to translate. I want to state here that we do support obviously nodes and content entity, but also config, such as views or web forms and media, and we basically support everything that core contains. Layout builder being a bit of a special case that I will get into maybe a bit later. So the first thing that TMGMT does is translate all of these very different data structures into basically one array of text that you need to translate. And it collects all of these things into what we call job, which is basically just a collection of stuff that relate to each other and that belong to the same context in the thing that we want to translate. Yes, and this, like, the fact that there is this job that gives the context really helps the translator to also know what they are working with and to not have, okay, node one, and then the media, and then something else that's not related at all. Once the job is created, we send the translation to the provider. Obviously, there are a ton of providers. We support 30 or so currently, and they all have their own APIs, of course. So what we do is that TMGMT exposes one API, and then we develop the provider plugins. So each provider has their own module with their own plugins that does the translation between the TMGMT API and the provider API, so that the logic is all in TMGMT, and this is just conversion stuff. So once the provider gets the data, they do all of this translation work on their own, and then they can send the translation back to TMGMT and to Drupal. And then eventually we can review, improve, communicate between the provider and me, the editor of my website. Yes, and last step is I agree with the translation that, like, we all are very happy with the work. So TMGMT then does the like back conversion to the real data structure for the website. That's the way it works. Obviously, this only works if the translation is symmetrical, or no, synchronous. Is that the word? Synchronous? Like the structure of the page on the original language is exactly the same as the structure of the page in the end language. Like the title is the title, and then there is one text, which is one text, and one media, which is one media. You cannot change the structure of the German page without changing the structure of the English page. They have to map the structure. Otherwise, like, you lose all of the structure and the coherence between the two languages. So this can be good or this can be bad. But this is really a requirement for this. Then I want to mention quickly, I'm kind of fast, I don't know, about how the provider plugin works, because I mean, this is probably the thing that needs to be really custom made for each provider, and it's actually quite easy. So I wanted to spend just a little time with that. So just this is exactly the same schema as the previous slide, but I turn it over. So I have the job up, and then the provider plugin, and then below is my provider API, which I call translator here. So basically, TMGMT exposes an API that is defined in this file, and probably a few other files, but like it's defining an interface for, and you have like all of the standard functions that you could need, like which languages are supported, and then you have the function send the translation or receive the translation and this kind of stuff. And what you just need to do is basically implement this interface for your specific translator. There is not really any documentation about that, really, which is a shame, but it's a really kind of easy process, and there are a ton of examples, and really a documentation would be probably just copy-pasting an example. So, but we support you as best as we can if you need to create your module, and we actually developed most of them. About the sources that we support everything that's in core, or almost, like the content entities, the nodes, the body, and the entity reference revisions, which is kind of a more special case of content entity, but that basically means paragraphs for the ones that are that know about paragraphs. The meta tags was a bit of a special case, and it's also supported. The config is also supported. You can translate configuration. And the interface translation is also, you can also send out interface translation to the expert translators with that. Now, TMGMT is not perfect, unfortunately, and there are still a few things that are work in progress. Especially, and most importantly, I guess, like the most active one is the layout builder. Layout builder is part of core, so as I said before, it should be supported, but it's not, because layout builder is kind of complicated with translations in core. Oops, I meant to do that. And there is this issue in core that basically means that layout builder and translations are like not very happy. But people are working on this issue, and this is the sister issue, I guess, for TMGMT, for the layout builder, and people are also working on that, and it kind of works, but as soon as you are not the easiest work case, then that doesn't work so good anymore. So it's just a really complicated problem, unfortunately. but people are working on it. Better suggestions. This is something that we worked on quite recently. This is the issue again. What's been committed into the module is all of the entities that are referenced from the node are suggested as, hey, you want to translate this article, but it's related to this other article. Do you want to translate it as well? This kind of situation. And if there is an image directly related to the node, then it will say, oh, maybe this image is related to the node. Do you want to translate it? But for example, this is an example of a paragraph. So the hero here is a paragraph. It's not directly the node. You have like the node, then the paragraph, then the image. And this second step was not supported so far, or is not committed so far in TMGMT, but there is now a patch in this issue that also suggests this and also suggests this. This is also a case of a reference with this intermediate layer, like the node and then the paragraph and then the link. And now this is supported and it was not supported before. It's not committed yet. It's almost supported. Last thing that I want to mention is the source view. So the source view is the table I kind of already showed before that gives you the list of all of the nodes and the status of the language translation. And this is what it looks like on the committed module so far. So you can select the languages, whether they have been translated or not, and you can select to bulk translate. But it's not super easy to bulk select stuff depending on whether it's published or when it was worked on the last or all of that. So we did, improve that to have the published state, the type of the article, if it's an article or a page or project or blog post or so on. And also the last time it was updated so that you know, like I don't want to update, to translate stuff that I did 3 years ago. Or maybe I do, and like you know about that. So that's the 3 big things that are progressing these days or these months in the module. Now I want to finish with we have almost 600 open issues on TMGMT right now on Drupal.org, and that's a lot. And it's good in the sense that it means that people are involved and want to see it progress and like work on TMGMT and so on. But also that's a lot of issues that should probably be closed by us or the maintainers. And we are very happy that the community is really involved in this module and using it. It's really like used a lot. But we don't have enough money to properly support everyone, to like check the issue queue in a timely manner. We do not make money out of this module at all. I guess, you know, some people could take some money out of each translation that's sent over TMGMT or whatever. We do not do that. And so there is no revenue through TMGMT. So that's why we maybe are not as efficient in answering the issues as we would like. It is what it is. And that's it for my presentation. Thank you for your attention. And do you have any questions?
Well, thank you. And also thank you for already answering one of my questions that was regarding the layout builder, because there was already a session earlier today because that use case. But I have a second one, and I'm just looking for that. So, yeah. The question is regarding the process of providing context for translation, because you were talking about providing review information, but I'm also interested in whether there is a way to provide more context for the module developers more generally during development. So as you know, we have the T function or T method, but oftentimes that not provides enough context, or maybe not in all cases. So I'm interested if this is also something that this solution tries to address. Thank you.
So the sound was not amazing, so I did not follow everything, but like the context would then be, oh, sorry, thanks. No, I'm not. Can I? Oh, that works now. Okay. Does it work? Okay. Then I guess. Okay. So I was saying I'm sorry that I did not follow everything you said, but we do provide context with like the collection of stuff that goes together, and we can provide context with the comments. So what else? Sorry. We can also send the link to the original language so that the translator can visit the website, and see the current language situation. We also develop for a client, so that's not in the module currently, but send them a preview, like we can generate a preview of the content with the translation that they're working on in the, like with the front end of the website after it's been translated. That's kind of like not really supported in the module. But does that answer your question? Or oh, okay. We can discuss also later. It was kind of useful, but not 100% useful, I guess. Did I rephrase that? Okay, I did answer the question. But we can discuss that also, yeah.
Thank you for your session. I have a question related with, you explained before that there is in place a way to integrate more providers into the module. Is there any other way to integrate custom field types into the module so they are exposed to the module and they can be translated? Thank you.
So what I understand, oh, did I go off again? Am I working? Is it working now? No. And now? Still no? No, right?
Please.
Sorry, thank you. What was the question again? Oh, God. No, I can. Yes, source field types. Yes, source. So, so if you have not done anything overly weird with your website, it should work out of the box. Like if you just did some site building stuff, like definitely it works. And even if you did some kind of weird stuff, it should really work out of the box. But if you're really doing crazy, crazy things, you can definitely create a module in your own project that like, you just need basically to do the translation between like your data type into an array. So that's not very complicated to perform. And then you send it to TMGMT.
There is a way to do the mapping between my field type and the array that is ready to be sent.
Yeah, so the question is if there is a way to do a mapping between the source type that you newly created and the structure for the TMGMT. And I mean, basically what TMGMT does is collects all of the text that you want to translate, even if it's like labels or something, into other text that they have translated. So as soon as you can arrayize your field, you're good to go. Yeah. Then thank you very much for your attention. This is on.
Ja, ja.
Okay.
Dankeschön.
I'm really sorry. Like the sound was kind of meshing your words together, and so this is not muted, but it doesn't work.
Ich schau. Ich glaub. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Aha. Ah ja. Nicht so optimal.